See if anybody comes. Saturday night. What else do you have to do on Saturday night, huh? Hopefully I've got like sound and everything like that going. Maybe. Now live on YouTube. That's what it says. But I don't see any chat messages. All right. Hey, there's some people. Hey, Max. Hey, Aiden. Hey, Padre. How are you? XXX is here. How's it going? Are you testing? No, I'm not testing. I'm live streaming. It's Saturday night. We didn't have anything else to do, so we're live streaming here. What's up with you guys? How's it going? So I think just jump into it. So I don't know if you guys have been following my Tesla solar saga, but hey RG3, how are you? My mic is quiet. Let's see if we can fix that. That fix it? Is it better now? Hey Patrick, how are you? Jesse, what's up? Is my mic still quiet or are you good? Will we ever get an attractive PoE Blue Iris compatible doorbell? Well, I have one in my test coming up, so maybe. So, Tesla Solar, my solar has been broken since late March, and it's been a whole thing where like they came out and they checked it and they were like, oh, the first guy was looking at the inverter. That's what they thought was bad. He said he checked the inverter and it was fine, and so it was something on the roof. And then the roof people came and they checked every single panel and every single little interrupter on the roof, and it ended up being the inverter. So the first guy messed up, and so they had to send out another crew, and so this is like, a month later or something like that. And so they like sent somebody not from their like contractor service, they sent somebody from like Tesla corporate, and they weren't like a normal tech or anything like that. It was just like their name was like quality coordinator or something. And this lady came out and knew exactly what she was doing. She opened up the inverter, like replaced some motherboard looking thing in it, and like had me up and running in like 2 hours or something. And so I really felt like this was the lady that I needed to talk to about like actually getting everything set up, because first of all, I noticed I still don't have what's called permission to operate, or PTO, which is like where your utility company says that you can finally like push power back onto the grid, and Tesla like won't give you the time of day unless you have PTO. But they tell you can turn your system on and run in like self consumption mode if you don't have PTO. But it sounds like I'm far away from it. I mean, I can move it. I was trying to. Is that better? Is that better? So I was trying to make it so that when I set stuff down on my table, it doesn't make a noise. So I didn't want to have the mic on the table, but I guess we can do that. Way better, much better. Okay, well, I wonder if I can have something else in the room that I can set this up on. One moment. Let me go get a box. The closest box has 100 PoE security cameras in it. Is that any better, or is it so bad? Hang on, I could probably get a little higher than that. One more thing to prop it up on here. All right, that's going to be the winner. Is that the winner? All right. So anyway, so this lady comes out. She's awesome, and everything's great. And so I asked her, like, hey, do you know anything about PTO? And she's like, I really can't do anything about that. That's a separate department. And then I was like, okay, well, I'll deal with that, I guess. But she did give me a good number to call, so that's good. And then the second thing was I said, I have 10.4 kilowatts of solar panels, but in the app, I've never seen more than 7.8 kilowatts in production. And she was like, oh yeah, that's because your inverter is only good for 7.8 kilowatts. So that's the maximum you could ever get. So even though I have 10.4 kilowatts of solar on the roof, I can only ever produce 7.8 kilowatts. And so, like, not knowing a ton about solar, I guess, I kind of freaked out about that. And I was like, this is ridiculous. Like, why would you make that system? Or why would you design a system with 10.4 kilowatts of solar on the roof and only a 7.8 kilowatt inverter? And it turns out it's actually pretty common to oversize your panels for your inverter because the inverter costs more than the panels do. Putting up panels is relatively cheap if you're already doing an install, and so they oversize the panels for the inverter. It's called like overdriving or something like that. And so anyway, so I was irritated about that, and because when I first signed up for Tesla Solar, it was like 16 something kilowatts was what I had signed up for. But when they came out to actually do the site plan, they were like, oh, your roof's actually too small for that, so we're going to step you down to 10.4. And so I would have loved to have the opportunity to say, well, I want the biggest inverter possible to possibly get more, solar. Turns out I was right. And so for, let's see, where is it? So you can see that maybe you can't see that on that graph right there, that ridge at the top, that represents like the maximum solar that I could possibly get right there. That's 7.8 kilowatts. And I was capped out today for 2 hours. So for 2 hours, I would have been producing more energy than I actually did because I don't have the inverter to do that. And like for me, it would have been totally worth it to pay the extra money for a better inverter, especially in Florida. Like it's only May still, right? And so I've got much more, potential to go through in June and July and August as far as solar potential. But for 2 hours plus a day, I'm going to be capped out by my inverter, which sucks. See, KK, that's the thing. Like it won't ever produce 10.4, but it's going to produce more than 7.8, right? 25% reduction is not, it's too much, right? I bet I could get up to, mid 9s for part of the day. Yeah, Laglor, if you watch there's like a MSNBC or something like that, like piece that they did specifically on Tesla Solar and just how much of a nightmare it is. Like my situation is not unique in any way. It's something that everybody's been dealing with. So the other thing is when you, yeah, Mario, I got your email. I thought I responded to your email actually. There was a scam posts on my YouTube channel. I think like 500 posts got made in like less than 5 minutes. It sucked. But yeah, the other thing that's ridiculous is I told you about the PTO, the permission to operate thing. That distinction in your account is what makes it so you can schedule service. And so if you don't have PTO and something goes wrong with your system, they tell you, like, you will get an email and you'll get a text that says, hey, something's wrong with your system, schedule service, and here's how you do it. You go into the app and you go into support and then you press schedule service. But you can't do that if you don't have PTO because the schedule service button doesn't show up until you have PTO. So it's like there could be something wrong with my system and I can't get help unless I call between the hours of 9 a.m. and 5 p.m. and get somebody on the phone and then talk them through this whole thing. So it's just ridiculous. Point being, don't use Tesla Solar. It's not worth it. Um, yeah, my daughter saw that same picture and loved it. Uh, so so the second thing that I was going to talk about, the LTT thing. I don't know if you guys watch the Land Show, which is Linus Tech Tips live show that he does on Fridays. But he was talking about GE and Brighton switches, and so he installed a bunch of these GE and Brighton Z-Wave motion sensor and switches, and then motion sensor and dimmer. And he actually had contacted me before about those specific switches and said, hey, we're looking at these switches. We're looking at using Home Assistant, but we don't have anything set up yet. Can you tell me if this switch will, work with Home Assistant and do this thing that I want it to do? So I got one of those switches, the GE and Brighton switch plus motion sensor, hooked it into Z-Wave JS, looked at like what was output as far as the data and what options were, and I let him know, yeah, you can do that. Well, that was all well and good, except for the fact that he ended up going with just a few of the switches and mostly dimmers. So all throughout his house, he got installed the GE and Brighton made by Jasco Z-Wave dimmers with motion, and they don't work. They can't separate the motion from the switch. So every time the motion comes on, it turns on the switch. And that sucks, obviously, because that's not the way that you typically want to use it. But the other thing that sucks is that, and if you want to go back and watch it, and I think he's going to release a video on it, but I don't think he has yet. Jasco, who makes the switches, has updated firmware for that switch, but they will not release it. They will not post it or allow customers to download it. Basically, the only way that you can get access to that updated firmware is if you buy and join your switches into a compatible Z-Wave hub that supports Jasco's firmware updates. So the whole thing is it's insane. And so Linus is obviously pretty pissed about it as well. But yeah. All right. Let me get back to he was heated about firmware, and for good reason. Like if he has, every switch in his house and he needs to update the firmware, but they won't allow him to update the firmware with Home Assistant, that means that anytime he needs to update the firmware of those switches, he'll need to take them away from Home Assistant, unjoin them from Home Assistant, and then join them up to the hub, and then rejoin them to Home Assistant, which is a total nightmare. So we'll see what happens with that. Let's see. Yeah, I definitely know the struggles of a smart home. Why do I use Home Assistant if you have Node Red? Do you find it a huge addition? I mean, Home Assistant is for integration, not for automation in my mind. So Home Assistant allows you to put everything under one roof, allows you to easily take every smart home product and join them up together, get all of them under one, essentially like API type of thing. And then in Node-RED, you can automate everything. So you can tie everything together. You can say when this thing from this ecosystem does this, do this other thing, but they all come back through Home Assistant. So I use the Node-RED add-on in Home Assistant, and I use the Node-RED nodes, the Home Assistant nodes in Node-RED. And so that allows you to, get their state, get, anything about them, all their status. Thanks, Mr. PC. What protocol were we talking about? We were talking about Z-Wave, Jay. Which specifically, Linus Tech Tips is using Z-Wave in his house, and he is having some trouble because Jasco, the company, won't release the firmware update that allows him to detach the motion sensor that's in the switch from the actual, operation of the switch. Been using GE Z-Wave switches for 10 years. Again, like that, a lot of them I think just work. Like the one that I tested for him works. It's fine. But he's using the ones that have a motion sensor built in, and the switches that have a motion sensor built in, the motion sensor is separated from the switch, so it doesn't have to turn the lights on and off. But on the dimmer, you can't separate the function of the motion sensor from the function of the switch, which is a huge problem. Do I still teach full-time? No, I do not. I retired last year, and I will probably not be going back, at least not next year. Although I am going to coach the robotics team next year again. So I'm starting back with that. I'll coach robotics 1 day a week after school as a volunteer. Let's see. Oh, I know what else I was going to show, so hang on 1 second, we'll grab stuff. All right, so this is the Vixing projector that was the winner of my projector showdown video, right? It's awesome. It works super well. It was like $55 or $60 when I bought it. And it was weird because on the listing it didn't really have a name. It didn't, like, it says Vixing on the projector. You can see it's bubbling here. I'll tell you the story as to why that happened. But it says Vixing on the projector, but on the listing it was just like totally generic. It said like PVT or something, and it was by far the best projector in the lineup. Well, the problem was that the seller of this sold out and then didn't ever replenish it. And then the only place that I've seen this selling is on Walmart and Walmart.com, and it's from like essentially random sellers. Like there's this seller called Lidum who used to make like LED lights, but as far as I can tell, they've been banned from Amazon for some reason because they're no longer on Amazon. Well, so what I did was I searched for projector, LED projector, and then all I wanted to do was find one that looked the same, like looked identical to this, and I found, finally, after like whatever 4 months, I found this projector. Hang on. Right? So I think we can all agree these are the same case, right? So they're like nearly identical projectors, except for it looks like the Vixing is a slightly upgraded version because it's got this SD card slot. And also the biggest thing on the Vixing that's nice is this, which is it's got a touch screen on the top. And is my green screen messing everything up? Oh, it does. Hang on. Let me ungreen screen real quick. I'm gonna destroy the illusion. Oh, wait, I'll just do this. Hang on. Oh wait, no, that's not gonna work. Yeah, it's keying out a color that's similar to that. Let me undo that. Oh wait, hold on. Can I do this? Boom. All right. There we go. You can see that, right? So this is the one that's identical, right? So we've got two projectors here that are identical. And so I was really excited because I thought that I was going to be able to say like, hey, I found the Vixing finally. So I did a head-to-head on these, and actually, interestingly, this one is brighter than this one. So this one's about 76 ANSI lumens, I think, if I remember correctly, and this one's about 85. So it's actually significantly brighter, but not going to end up recommending it. I haven't tweeted about it or anything because this one, the contrast is not nearly as good as this. And I think that's what made this one look so good in the first place, was it's got a really good contrast ratio, and I don't know why. Like, they look pretty much identical, but this one from Vixing is still better than this one. So that was a sad day. All right. What else was I going to talk about? Oh, we were talking about doorbells. So 4 wired doorbells. Oh, geez. What have I done? Some people were talking about PoE, like whether I was going to have PoE doorbells. I have 2 PoE doorbells lined up. I have one that is a Dawa doorbell. It looks fine. It looks not sketchy and old like the like, I don't know if you've seen that square silver Dawa doorbell that's garbage. I mean, the doorbell's nice, but it looks like garbage. I've got a Dawa doorbell that has PoE. It's got SIP as its voice protocol. So it's basically like a phone call rather than being weird two-way audio. RTSP, always on, that kind of thing. So that one's in the running. And then I also have the Unify G4 Pro doorbell that has PoE, sort of. It's got USB-C on the back, and then there's like a PoE adapter that you can buy from Ubiquiti. So I probably won't have that because I think it's still in early access, and so I wouldn't be allowed to make a video about it anyways until it comes out of early access. Not that I could get my hands on it; it's not available anyways. Yeah, so I've got a lot of stuff. I've got I've got the Eufy Dual, but the wired version. So the Eufy Dual wired version supports essentially like an always-on kind of thing, but you can't get access to it. It's not on VIF. So that one's gonna be interesting. I've got the Logitech Circle, which is HomeKit secure video, which is a really cool HomeKit. If you're into HomeKit, HomeKit secure video is awesome as far as like privacy and things like that. It's all local. Unify's been out of stock at everything for a while. Yeah, I know. Actually, I had 2 subscribers really come through for me. So I made a tweet, was on Thursday, I think, and just said like, hey, I want to have these 2 doorbells in a video in my next doorbell video, the G4 doorbell and the G4 Pro doorbell. Like, more than willing to pay for a loaner if you're willing to loan me yours. And 2 people just reached out and said like, hey, no problem, I'll send you mine. And so I have both of them now. So that's nice. G4 Pro is out of EA, but the AC adapter for it and the PoE adapter are not. Those are still in EA. So yeah, I've got a Logitech Circle. I am also considering, because it has 13,000 positive reviews, I'm also considering testing out the Arlo Essential wired doorbell. I generally really don't like Arlo products. Every single Arlo product I've had and tested, and that's quite a few, have been absolutely terrible. But like I said, it's got 4.5 stars with 13,000 reviews, and it's relatively cheap. It's only $126. So I feel like that makes it a contender. Hey, what's up, Philip? I've got a Hikvision doorbell called the DS-HD1. I've got the Amcrest doorbell, which is not PoE, but is on VIF and has really good Home Assistant integration from what I understand. I'm also going to cave and test the Wyze wired doorbell, because that one's only $65, and that seems like a really good deal if it is decent. Although Wyze had a few more debacles, right? So they had their first debacle with privacy, where they didn't disclose, a exploit for a while. And then the second thing that they just messed up was they essentially said like, hey, we're gonna start pushing the Cam Plus subscription, and so you need to sign up for a Cam Plus subscription. And so everybody was like, oh, I'm gonna lose all my free features that I had with Wyze. But what they actually did was they just made a subscription called Cam Plus Lite that's free, and so they have all the old free features in Cam Plus Lite, but they make you sign up for this Cam Plus Lite thing, which is super confusing and weird, and I don't know why they would do that, other than the fact that maybe in the near future that's not going to be free, and so if you have Cam Plus Lite, it's going to be 99 cents a month or something like that. I don't know. Wyze just does so much sketchy stuff like that I have a really hard time suggesting them as a brand. I also think that their like product showcase is just so weird. Like, they were like, hey, we're a camera company, and then it was like, hey, we'll also have contact sensors, and I was like, oh, that's something that could be related. And then, by the way, we're gonna release an air purifier. And it's like, wait, why? Why is Wise making an air purifier? Also, a robotic vacuum. Like, aren't you guys a camera company? What about a gun safe? So yeah, I don't know. They also released that weird. It wasn't even connected. It was like a handheld wand vacuum. It's just like they're kind of like we've got this store in the United States that's called Big Lots, and in Big Lots they don't have any like set stuff that they sell. The idea behind Big Lots was that they would like buy overstock from warehouses for dirt cheap and then sell those products in their stores. And I feel like Wise does the same thing where they're like, oh, there's a warehouse in China and they have a set of air purifiers. Let's like buy those and put the Wise name on them and sell Wise air purifiers or Wise gun safes or whatever. It's super weird. Yeah, I don't know why they do that. They're definitely rebranding Chinese crap. I mean, their original camera was the Xiaomi Defang camera. Like, it was identical. They just had a different firmware on it. And even the like original RTSP version that you could put on a Wise Cam was a hack that was written for the Xiaomi Defang cameras. And then they were being sold in Europe by a company called Neo. It was again identical camera. The Wise V2? Yeah, Wise V2, the Xiaomi Defang, or Defang, no, it's Defang, and the Neo indoor cam, I think it was called. Those were all identical products. Will I ever test the RoboVac? So I've got a video coming out about robotic vacuums and like basically what you get for a certain price. And I've got a lot of interesting ones. So I bought this vacuum. I think I talked about it last live stream. It's called the Light and Easy, and it is a like sweeper vac. So it doesn't have a brush bar at all. It just has suction, and then it's got the sweeping parts on the front. I was sweeping in the wrong way. Got to sweep that way. It also has an auto empty bin though, and it was $150. So it's an auto empty bin with no bags, a bagless auto empty bin sweeping robot for $150. Ridiculous. Then I'm also going to talk about like how cheap you can go as far as like how important is LiDAR mapping. How important is an auto empty bin? Dream Tech has a new vacuum called the D10, I want to say. T10? D10? I don't remember. I think it's D10. That's going to be cheap. It's going to be like under $300, and it's a Dream Tech, so it's a good reputable brand. They're under the Xiaomi ecosystem. It's got LiDAR and it's got auto empty for under $300, and that's under 300 MSRP. So it could be significantly less than that. I think it's only being released in U.S. markets originally. So if you're in Europe, you might have to wait. But yeah, it sounds pretty interesting. So I'll have that in there as well, just as a comparison. I'm still thinking LiDAR is the best option for RoboVacs. Absolutely. Versus camera only. Camera is just bad. Everything about it is bad. It's slow. It costs more. It is not accurate, or not as accurate for the same cost of LiDAR. And yeah, it's just not the way to go. Must have a very understanding wife to test all this different stuff at your house. Yeah, no, I do. That actually was an interesting thing. I was watching the Linus Tech Tips LAN show last night, and he said something that I actually feel that the same way, and that is like, I feel like in this role that I have taken on here as a YouTuber, it is like my burden to constantly need to rearrange and shift around everything in my house. Like, I would love to like just get one thing working and then not touch it anymore. but that is just not something that I can do, unfortunately. Hey Ryan, how are you? You got the Nest doorbell, seems fine except for the yearly fee. What's your go-to replacement without a fee? Eufy is really the only decent doorbell without a fee. Battery doorbell without a fee. If you have wired doorbells, we got a bunch of options, and those are down in the carousel right now, and they are all wired doorbells, and there's going to be a video about them coming up soon. Hopefully in July. I can't do it before July because Realink's battery doorbell doesn't come out until July. And so I told them to send it to me as quickly as they can, but they didn't want to send it to me before it was ready. Oh, wired? Yeah, so check out the ones in the carousel there. Specifically the ones that people like. The one that most people, rave about is the Amcrest that's down there. That's $149. It's called the Amcrest 8410, I believe. And it's obviously got no subscription fee. But if you want to also, if you can hold out until July, I'll have a video about all of them. Ever watch Vacuum Wars? Yes, I always watch Vacuum Wars. I don't think I've ever missed a Vacuum Wars video. Roomba at 960 has covered 363,000 square feet. And yeah, how many times has it gotten stuck though, Mr. PC? That's the question. Speaking of security cameras, Reolink sent me a camera that I didn't even know existed, and that is the Reolink Duo, which I have the Duo PoE and the Duo Wi-Fi that I like. But there's also a Reolink Duo battery that competes with your Ring stick-up cams and your Blink and your whatever. And there's also a Reolink Duo 4G battery that is a cellular Reolink Duo camera. So it's got the two lenses, but then it's 4G cellular. It's pretty crazy. They do recommend only using it with a solar panel. So I think you can infer from that what its battery life would be without the solar panel. But they say that it can run indefinitely on a solar panel if you have, on the single Reolink solar panel, if you have a good position for it. So I'm testing that right now out in the backyard. I found a good position for the solar panel, installed the Duo battery, and then I need to go to a friend's house, and I'm going to install the Duo 4G battery. Actually, I keep my boat at a friend's house, so I was thinking about just putting the Reolink Duo staring at the boat, or maybe I'll put it in the boat. There's an idea. Anyone know if the Wisecam V3 works any better with Home Assistant than the V2? I don't know that they really work with Home Assistant at all, do they? Hey, Jay Greenier, how are you? Thank you. Don't forget that, yeah. No, wait, the Reolink doorbell, Jonathan, the Reolink doorbell is coming in July. That's why I have to wait until July. What's the best DIY solar and lithium battery ion solution? Lithium ion battery. You mean like the Jackery ones and the EcoFlow ones? I haven't tested any of those. They continually reach out to me via email, but I don't. It doesn't seem like a video that I should make. It doesn't seem like that's in my wheelhouse. It seems like that would be a very wise thing to do. Is like, hey, I make videos about smart homes and security cameras and stuff. Also, here's this solar panel and battery bank. That doesn't seem right? I don't know. How do I feel about the protocol Matter? I am reserving all of my thoughts about Matter until Matter is actually something that exists. Until we actually see it in the wild, I am not going to worry about it. I think that Matter, in its original or in its form that it's going to have when it first comes out, I think there's going to be a lot of bridging, right? So we've heard it 100 times, right? That Matter says, oh well, we don't need a hub. We don't need a Matter hub. but you will need a mattered border router. It's like, wait a second. Isn't that the same as a hub? What does a border router do? And it's like, well, don't worry. What a border router does is it takes the Matter protocol and it converts it into an IP-based protocol. And it's like, wait a second. That's exactly what a hub is. So we'll see. We'll see what the border router hub situation actually works out to be and how it works. But I'm not holding my breath on it. Ruben says, what's the best retrofit energy monitoring solution? I would say it is the Emporia. What category or device do you think is the least representing? What do you mean the least representing in the smart home market? Like, you mean it's like the lowest market share? 280 410s. Yeah, I think most people who use the 8410 have Blue Iris installed. I think if so, I'm definitely in my wired doorbell video going to have two categories of winners. One of them is going to be the best, wired doorbell for somebody who doesn't have, Home Assistant and Blue Iris and that kind of thing, and the other one is going to be the best one for Home Assistant and Blue Iris. About a month away from starting a from-scratch house build and would love to do a collab on picking out the home automation hardware. Maybe. I mean, like, what are you thinking? Are you going to go like Z-Wave or Zigbee, or are you going to go Insteon? Gonna go on eBay and get as much Insteon gear as you can? Yep, Blue Iris doorbell review coming in. I've got some really good stuff too. Like I said, I've got a Hikvision, I've got a Dahua, I've got the Amcrest. I'm gonna skip the Lorix one because the Lorix doorbell is the same as the 8410. No one's selling decent products. That's a good question. I would say, and it's getting better, but I would say that the presence sensing devices, like, that are better than motion sensors. There's that new Aqara microwave sensor. So first of all right, let's talk about the Aqara microwave sensor because it's getting a lot of press. And my question is, why aren't they releasing it in the US, right? If there's demand for it in the US, why aren't they releasing it? That's a thought-provoking question for this device that is using an previously unused band of RF in order to detect presence. Is it banned by the FCC? Are they using a band that will create harmful radiation? What? I mean, I'm not talking like conspiracy theory stuff here. I'm not talking like, 5G towers are murdering us or anything like that. What I'm saying is, like, there has to be a reason that Aqara, which is this very large company, has decided to not do a US release of this product. Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. FCC radio band regulations. That's got to be it, right? Right, the FP1. It's the band the CIA listens to us on, yeah, probably. Do you still have the Streamlabs sensor and the Mow and Flow? Thoughts after that? I have the Mow and Flow still, and it's great. Actually, it's one of those things that, like, you don't ever think about until you need it, right? And so most of the time, I don't think about it. I still actually don't know what's wrong right now. So mine, normally, the only time I would ever think about my Mow and Flow is when I'm filling my pool. So occasionally in Florida, it doesn't rain for, months, and the pool will need to get water put in it. And so when I do that, when I turn a hose on and fill the pool manually, it'll take probably, I have one of those like garbage 1/2-inch hoses that I bought because it like is on a nice hose reel that's automatically reels in. But I'll leave the water on for like 2 hours to fill up the pool then. And Mow and Flow always comes on after the first like 45 minutes, and I get a critical alert on my phone. I get a phone call, it's an automated phone call. And then it says like, if you don't respond to this within, I think it's 30 seconds, it will shut off the water to the house, which is, that's what it's there for. But the thing that I don't know what's wrong, and maybe I can show you, hang on, let me pull up the app and make sure it's not going to leak my information or anything. Yeah, so you can see that, let's see if we can see that. So up here, this says small drip detected. This says unusual usage. This is me filling up the pool. But then down here it says that the health check went successfully. So we got a lot of good successful health checks. But every once in a while it says small drip detected. And I can't figure out what that is. I know that it happened around the time that I did my water heater automation. So my concern was that I had punctured one of the pipes that's in the wall there when I screwed the box onto the wall. But I got a, my buddy has one of those endoscopes, and I drilled a hole in the wall and looked at it. There's nothing back there. And like I said, it's weird that it only detects a drip like, once a week, and the other health checks go fine. And so I'm not super concerned about it, but I'd like to figure out what it is. Patent hasn't gone through yet. Are you talking about for the motion sensor? Probably asked before, but what would you do with the Lorix 4K LNB 8973 BW? I don't know what that is. Wait, what? Did I test this camera? It looks familiar. I think I tested this camera. It's a varifocal. Yeah. It was fine. I mean, it was okay, but it wasn't as good as the other cameras in the test. Yeah, it could be a toilet that's running, but I actually went through the house because you can do the health check on demand also. And so I went through and I turned off like every single water shut off under a sink or behind the toilet or whatever. Turned them all off, right? And then I ran the health check, and it still gave me the small leak detected warning. So I don't think that's it. I'm starting to think it might actually be the flow itself. Maybe I like bumped the flow when I was installing the water heater, or the water heater cut off. I don't know. FPS related questions are impossible to answer. Who would have thought? What question did you ask? I don't see any questions. Usually small leak ends up being something goofy with a toilet, in my experience, yeah. I'm not super worried about it, like I said, but I think it says that there was a 5.3% pressure loss over the course of 3 minutes. Like, that's very little. This one was 5.1 in 3 minutes. But then it says that could be up to 5 gallons of water a day. So if it's inside of a wall, 5 gallons of water a day would be real bad. But yeah, who knows? How does the Akara detect a human? I have no idea. Magic, I assume. Turn off the water going into the house and test. Can I do that? I don't think I can do that. My water shutoff is behind the flow. So I can't shut off the water on the other side of the flow. Totally trying to... Yeah, but it's weird that it happens like once a week in the 3 minutes that it's testing. Sure, why don't you just put the... Ruben, why don't you just put the actual contact sensor on the outside and then have the magnet on the inside of the door, or of the mailbox? It's sensing pressure, Craig. The way that it works is it's got a little pressure sensor. It shuts off its own water shut-off valve, ball valve, and then it has a pressure sensor on the other side. And so, theoretically speaking, your inside plumbing is a closed system, and so if there are no leaks, then the pressure should maintain when that ball valve is all the way closed. Now again, what's to say that the mow and flow itself isn't leaking out backwards, that it's not able to, fully close? I don't know. Jay After Dark asks about the human detection part of Reolink cameras. Can it be used in Blue Iris? No. There is no implementation of human detection in OnVIF. Now, you can use it in Home Assistant. Home Assistant exposes the Reolink Dev, I think it's called, HACS integration, exposes human detection and vehicle detection as separate things on the dashboard. But that's all using like a HTTP API. Reverse osmosis. I don't have reverse osmosis. Reverse osmosis. I don't have an RODI system. What automation frustrates me the most? There's got to be something, right? I don't know. I think most automations, I think if they frustrate me, they get turned off. And so I was trying to think of one that I've turned off recently, but I can't think of any. Most of mine run great. Is there some trick to get RTSP to stream from the glance card? You might be running into... So one limitation that Reolink cameras have is the number of RTSP streams that they can generate, or number of RTSP clients. And so I think it's 3 RTSP clients. So if your glance card is generating an RTSP client and then asking for it again the next time you access the dashboard, it will hang. I do not have a hot water circulator. Doing new setup for home construction. If you could design from scratch, would you use bullet or dome cams? I prefer bullet cameras. I like bullet cameras because to me they're easier to set up, and I also like their deterrent factor. I like the fact that they're visible. I think that a very underrated aspect of security cameras is deterrence, as far as like, I won't need to access footage because people can see that I have security cameras and will not attempt to, you know, come on my property because of that or commit a crime on my property. What about an ice maker? I'd love somebody to make a video about an ice maker. I love ice, and I've heard that the little GE Nugget ice maker is like the worst product ever made. Oh, you're asking about it. I gotcha. You're asking for an ice maker being the culprit. It could be. It could be. Can you hook up Real-Link cameras to a PoE switch, but set them on the Real-Link NVR? Yes, you can do that. They get auto-detected, I think. I think they get auto-detected. Do you have any experience with the latest gen Ubiquiti cameras? If so, what's the verdict? Same verdict as always. I assume by latest gen you mean the G4 series. Yeah, I have a G4 Pro. I have a G4 Dome. I'm about to have two G4 Doorbells. They're fine. They're not high value by any means. They're relatively low value as far as like cost versus performance. But the Unify Protect app does what it is intended to do and works really well. Worst product ever made. I don't know, anything that says Arlo on it. I hate Arlo products. They're so bad. This most recent one, so the Arlo Pro 4 Spotlight was what I had, the battery camera. Set it up, great. It was working fine, aside from the fact that it needed to be recharged like every week and a half. Then it stopped recording. And I was like, why isn't this isn't giving me any notifications or anything, it's just not recording. Called support, waited on hold of support, and they were like, oh, looks like your cloud subscription plan ran out. And I went in the app and I was like, well, it's weird because you still charged me for the subscription plan. So I don't know why it ran out. And they're like, okay, well, what we're going to need you to do is we're going to cancel the subscription plan that you have right now. We're going to get you to pay for it again under a separate account. And then we need you to factory reset the camera and add it to a new account. That was their solution. Was when my camera stopped working, they needed me to cancel my subscription on my account, start a new account with a new subscription, and factory reset my camera to add it to the account. And did it work? Absolutely it worked. But why is that a thing? That's the worst product performance I've ever seen. And it was already bad. So I didn't mention it in the video because there was really no reason to. The Arlo camera was just like bad in almost every way. So no need to beat a dead horse or whatever. But yeah, I'm going to test this Arlo Essential thing. Not me, case closed. I don't know what that means. Let's see. What's it called? Arlo Essential Wire Doorbell. Yeah, I'm going to test it just because I feel obligated to, but it's going to be bad. Thoughts on upcoming Matter standard? I kind of already talked about that. It's going to be just another standard, I think. Unfortunately, it's going to be Zigbee or Z-Wave or Thread, or I mean, it sort of is Thread. So I guess Thread won't exist anymore. Maybe. Although I have heard that there are Thread products that aren't going to get upgraded to Matter. I don't know, man. We'll see when it gets here. Have you tried any 360 fisheye cameras? Yeah. Oh, I can't get to it because it's under the thing. Hang on, I'm gonna mute my I'm gonna mute my microphone so that I don't bust your ears. And then I'm going to grab the camera out. Okay, I'm back. Let's see if this one gets keyed out. Probably not. So I have this Anki one, and I also have one that's by Dawa. But this one works pretty good. The Anki N04, it's called. Now, I don't have any use for it. I've tested it and put it in Blue Iris and used Blue Iris's dome feature, and that works well. But I don't have any use for it like on a day-to-day basis. Appreciate the professional nature reviews. Gamers Nexus shame stories. Yeah, I mean, it's not like they wronged me, right? So I think that Gamers Nexus has that going for them, that like they cost them financially. It was like Arlo, fixed my product. They told me how to fix it. It didn't cost me any more money, right? They refunded my subscription that I had, and they told me to re-sign up. But it's a horrible product experience is what it is. And I think as long as it's not a product that I am recommending, I don't think I need to drag them through the mud. AI360 I have not tested. G5. What's the G5? The Ubiquiti G5? I don't know what that is. Unified G5. I don't think it's a thing, is it? Yeah, I don't know what the G5 is. Let's see if I can find the doorbell that from Dawa real quick. It is called... Come on. My email appears to not be working very well. Yeah, 360 cameras definitely, when they get unstretched and you're doing all the virtual PTZ, they definitely need to have huge resolution. I think this one might only be 5 megapixel. Yeah, this one's only 5 megapixel. VTO 231R WP. VTO 2311R WP. Yeah, that's the Dawa one that I'm testing. I think that's a pretty slick looking doorbell, don't you? It supports SIP. That seems wrong. Why is the mainstream 720p and the substream 1080p? Strange. Yep, I'm gonna test that one. Max, the 8410. Have you tested the Dawa 5542? 5542? I've tested the 5442, the 5442, and the 5842, or 5482, the 8 megapixel version, whatever that is. They both have 1/1.2 sensors, yeah. I have a video about both of them, I think. I tested the 5442 in my Truth About Reolink video, and I test the 5842 in my most recent varifocal PoE camera video. My audio dropped. Really? Like, no. Okay. Deep stack issues. Always display alert cancel to a valid detection. Is it timing out? Like when you go in and look at the actual, like if you do a deep stack analyze, where you do like a screenshot and then you hit, right click and hit analyze with deep stack, what does it say? Is it possible to display camera feed on TV you are watching when it is triggered? Yes, probably. Is it possible? Yes. Is it easy? No. I would use the Home Assistant stream function to do that. You'd add the camera to Blue Iris, and then you would use the Blue Iris integration in Home Assistant, and then you would use the Home Assistant cast function as a action for an automation that's triggered by the camera being triggered. That's what I would do. AI bullet. G4 AI bullet? Is that what you're talking about, Globe? I don't have the normal G4 bullet. I only have the G4 Pro and the G4 Dome. But I assume that you can assume that the G4 Dome and the G4 Bullet are going to have similar performance, which is to say, okay, fine performance. They're both G4 series, and so you used to be able to say that everything in the G4 series was going to have smart detections, but now you can't do that anymore because the G4 Instant doesn't support smart detections. Why they did that, I have no idea. Lithium ion UPS, any thoughts? Not really. I think the downside to a lithium ion UPS is that UPSs are typically pretty hard on their batteries and they need to be replaced. And I think it might be easier to replace a lead acid battery. I mean, like most people replace the batteries in their UPSs yearly. You're supposed to. Hey, Jerry T. Look forward to seeing new versions each year in different categories. Thanks, man. Wish I could just figure out that same thing you were saying, but picture in picture so I could continue watching my show, but it would pop up on the side. It's all about the device that you're casting to supporting picture in picture. I think LG WebOS TVs can do picture in picture from Home Assistant Cast, and I think... Can you do it on Apple TV also? I think there's some weird way that you can cast picture-in-picture to Apple TV with Home Assistant. So it's a matter of what device you're watching TV on. Yeah, Apple TV support picture-in-picture. Yep. Yeah, I've played around with that before. It works too. I ran into an issue though. I feel like the clip that it did picture in picture on was only playing 15 seconds or something like that, and then it was just repeating the same 15 seconds. I think I had that issue. Is there any feature an NVR has tripwire human detection that Blue Iris doesn't? No. Blue Iris has all of them. Did you make a comparison video about the U6 lineup? U6. You mean the Wi-Fi 6? Unify Wi-Fi 6? No, I only have a Wi-Fi 6 Lite access point, and that was about the time that I ripped out all my Unify gear and I went with TP-Link Omada. So I have TP-Link Omada Wi-Fi 6 access points, but not Unify access points. That seems strange, Roberto. Maybe. So it's canceling them, and it's not saying why they're canceled. So they show up in canceled events, not in confirmed. Like if you look in the alerts tab. Weird. Can I do a comparison of Blue Iris and Surveillance Station? I can. I would be really hard on Surveillance Station if I did it though. It is not a good product. I mean, like, it's a robust product. I've never had an issue with Surveillance Station, but it's just so not Blue Iris. Blue Iris just has so many options and it can do so much stuff, and it's relatively inexpensive. You know, for $60, you can put unlimited cameras in Blue Iris, and Surveillance Station still, I think, $29 a camera. Or is it 19 now? But too much. Yeah, not that good. If you were right in recommending the Orbit Beehive sprinkler controller, had a month and love it, great, yeah. I think it's awesome as well. Plan to upgrade the battery to a deep cycle 12 volt marine battery. Should this work? Has the same voltage and chemistry? Maybe. I don't, yeah, it's, most UPSs don't really care about the battery as much as they care, as much as the inverter is important. What's your favorite overall camera and security system? It's a good question. Which camera is my favorite right now? Probably my 8 megapixel 50x zoom PTZ. I would think that's like my favorite camera. It's like a really just high performing camera, and it's I have it set up on like motion alerts, so it's mounted on a high point in my house, on the second story, and it uses other cameras as spotter cameras, and so when motion gets detected in one position, the 50 times zoom kind of goes in and gives another angle of that area. It's pretty cool. What caused me to move away from Unify? I feel like Unify stopped being the company that I thought that they were trying to be. I thought Unify was really into the same stuff that I was, which was, you know, local control, privacy, enabling users to, you know, control the traffic on their network. I really liked their separated systems, you know, where you wouldn't have one device that was handling everything. So if you know, a port fails on your switch, right? You've got a 16 port switch and a port fails on it. It's like, well, or maybe the whole thing dies. It's like, well, you got to get a new switch now. But what if a port fails on your Dream Machine Pro? It's like, well, now I got to get a new switch, I got to get a new router, I got to get a new cloud key. Like, the Dream Machine Pro is everything. And then you take it into that, the Dream Wall or whatever. I mean, they're just going all in on putting all of their products and all of their eggs in one basket. And add to that, like, all their reliance on the cloud right now. I heard it might be getting better, but Unify, I guess I'll see in a little bit when I start doing the doorbells. But Unify Protect, for a long time, you couldn't block there was no way to have a local instance of Unify Protect. So basically, when you logged into Unify Protect on your phone, you had to do it through UI.com, and there was no local implementation of it, which is insane. Maybe that's gotten better, but I don't love it. What's the model of the 50X PTZ? It was something, I don't know. Let's see if I can find it. This one. VicViz. Can you see that? Yeah. Unify Access. I don't have any. I don't know. I haven't done any Unify Access stuff. You see any 5G cellular cameras come out? No, just 4G so far. There's Eufy has a 4G. Reolink has a 4G. You can get like 4G trail cams. Also, stop focusing on the core products. Yeah, I agree with that. Still think an old 6th gen Intel with a 1030 is worth buying. Yeah, that's a great system. That's a great system for Blue Iris. Put this VicViz PTZ in the carousel. What's the difference between those? I don't know. IT security cert progress? What do you mean, Nicholas? I have a Security Plus for CompTIA. That's all I have. I haven't really tried to get anything else. Like I said, I'm not actively teaching anymore. So, and the only reason that I got the Sec Plus in the first place was because in the state of Florida, if a teacher has their certification and you're teaching in a related class, the state of Florida will pay for all the students to take the exam. And the Sec Plus exam is like $275, I think. So I went and got mine so that my 30 students could get a free test. Does GPU in a PC matter for Blue Iris? Not really, other than the fact that NVIDIA GPUs support deep stack. You can do deep stack detections on your NVIDIA GPU. It's gifted a couple servers, want to build that home network. Do you think getting a Unify UDM Pro is worth it, or should you go another route? I mean, it's fine. It's not a bad system. I don't know that I would personally recommend it anymore. And also, just like, where are you going to get it from? They don't exist. You can't buy them. So that's tough in that way. Oh, geez, it's after 10 o'clock. Jay after dark. 10 o'clock. It's after dark. Jay, is your wall LED thing still working good? Running any issues with it? Will you be reviewing the Unify Doorbell Pro? Battery doorbell review is... Stuart, yeah, I'll have the G4 Doorbell Pro. It's not an EA anymore. It's out, and I'll have it in there. Am I still liking Omada? Yeah, I do like Omada. It's great. they need to fix stateful firewall rules. If they fix stateful firewall rules, you're going to see a video from me like the same week, because I've already written the whole freaking video. This is what I suggest. This is the equipment that I suggest using. This is how you should set it up. Here's what all the stuff that I did. The only part that doesn't work is the firewall setup, because they don't have stateful firewall rules. And so I have a lot of very specific firewall rules on my network, but if I made a video about the specific firewall rules that I have, they're not one-to-one with what you would set up. So they need to have stateful firewall rules before I can make a more generic video about setting up a firewall. And once they do that, I will have a video out the same week. Does the Reolink NVR interface into Home Assistant? Not super well. It does work, Steve, but not as well as just the cameras on their own. Yeah, nighttime frame rate finally fixed, huh? That was a huge thing. Is it a simple L4 firewall? No. It's so Omada firewalls are crazy. So Omada firewalls are L2 firewalls. They're layer 2, and they run on individual devices. So instead of your gateway handling all your firewall stuff like you would on Unify, so on like a Unify system, if you set up a firewall rule on your UDM, right, and you say, I don't want this camera to talk to this camera, right, within the same network, and they're both wired, and they're wired in the same switch, too bad. That's because in the switch table, on layer 2, they're going to be able to communicate with one another, and it doesn't need to talk to the firewall. It doesn't need to go through the firewall, because it's going to communicate via layer 2 on the switch and not contact the UDM. On Omada, you set up your firewall rules on different levels. There are gateway firewall rules, which are basically what you would expect for like what happens on the UDM. There are switch firewall rules, and there are access point firewall rules. So that means that you can restrict layer 2 traffic on a firewall rule on the switch and on the access point. Now in Unify, you can actually do it on their access points as well. Layer 2 doesn't necessarily, there's no layer 2 traffic, like easy direct layer 2 traffic between Wi-Fi devices on Unify, but on switches there is. I like and use TP-Link equipment, but they don't get updated regularly. Is Omada different in that regard? Yeah, Omada's a currently developed product, so they're beta firmware right now that has stuff in it that is not in the release candidates. Not a fan of the Blue Iris mobile app. Why not? It works really well. You'll likely never see stateful firewall rules at L2 on TP-Link. Yeah, no, I don't even need them on L2. I want them on L3. If I can have stateful firewall rules on layer 3, I'm good. Which doorbell cam is now my favorite? That's a good question. I am probably going to continue to use the Ring Video Doorbell 4 once I finish my wired doorbell review. But right now I have a 6 amp 24 volt power supply outside because I'm in the process of setting up for a wired doorbell video. I don't actually have a wired doorbell, so I just am going to power them all off of a 6 amp power supply. Unify gets updated monthly. I mean, yeah, but they're not always good updates. I can't tell you the number of times that I pressed update and then my network didn't work anymore. So, take it or leave it. If not, your previous question, is it possible to get a full ultimate smart home guide? Um, I mean, ultimate smart home, like ultimate smart home network guide or smart home? Oh, sorry, I didn't see that. Is it possible to get a guide on implementing a domain name and doing reverse proxy like traffic? I'd love to see a continuation of the ultimate smart home network. Gotcha. Sorry, I missed that. Well, so Home Assistant technically does reverse proxy already. Every add-on that you use in Home Assistant is going through Nginx, so it's reverse proxying. Now, if you want to run that all yourself, it gets a little more complex, but Nginx makes everything pretty easy. Yeah, Unify updates are definitely Russian roulette. Sometimes they work. Sometimes the update goes successful and breaks your network. Sometimes the update does not update successfully and that breaks your network. I mean, I've had it both ways. Do you think your smart home tier list has changed? Nope. I think it's still good. Let's see, how long are we going for? An hour and 23 minutes. Let's do 7 more minutes and then we're out of here. Who else got questions? How many people are watching? 133. All right. How many people on Amazon? 5. All right. Thanks, Amazon people. It's so funny. I when I originally was wanting to start doing these live streams, I was like, oh, I'm going to use Amazon as a platform because I don't want to, mess up, and I don't want to like dilute down my shortened, to the point videos with live streams. So as a result of that, I have been taking all my live streams and I make them unlisted right after they happen, and then I put them on a public playlist that's called Unlisted Live Streams. But even though I do that, every single live stream that I've done, so like the last 4, every single one, there is at least one comment under there that says, I prefer your short videos. It's like, why are you here? Why are you watching this video? It's an unlisted live stream. I don't know, man. What are you gonna do? All right. Are you into access points? I don't know what that means. How's my concrete tabletop holding up? It's holding up well. I was considering sanding off the top layer and trying to reseal it because the epoxy like has yellowed a little bit. Epoxy yellows outside. That's just something that happens. It's impossible. Every single epoxy in the world is gonna yellow in UV light. So, I was just considering taking the sheen off of it and then resealing it. But honestly, like the way that I made it, it's supposed to look a little bit rustic, so the yellowing doesn't bother me at all. SE has 8-port PoE switch built in. Not talking to me. Why doesn't the Reolink mobile app show updated camera thumbnails? I think it only updates the thumbnail when you click on the camera. I would like to set up a mesh network in a small motel. Considering Ubiquiti, probably a good plan. I mean, if you are not super into networking and you want to do it yourself, Ubiquiti has the most user-friendly way to set that up, as far as being able to immediately set up a network that people can log in through a guest portal and people can be isolated properly. And then the other thing that Ubiquiti has going for it is just the number of people that are creating content about how to do it. So if you searched for setting up a captive portal guest network, Ubiquiti, you'll find 50 videos. But if you search for setting up a captive portal TP-Link Omada, you're going to get 1 or 2. And so, like, that's a huge thing that they have going for them. Jawbreaker, I'm using TP-Link Omada. Looking for a camera suitable for construction time-lapse. Do I have any recommendations? Yeah, the Reolink cameras are great for time-lapses. You just put them in time-lapse mode. Hardware candidates for window blind automation. Not really, no. I still use the same ones, the ones with the stepper motors. Can I use a Gobi Bluetooth in Home Assistant? No. Why do they recommend hooking a DVR to the router versus through a managed switch? Who does? Steve? Reolink? That's probably just to stop people from messing something up. But like, if you know what a managed switch is, you're probably fine hooking your NVR through that. I do not recommend the Dream Machine Pro currently. No. I would recommend, I don't know. Yeah, I don't have a good recommendation right now. I probably will end up recommending TP-Link Omada, but not right now. Not until they put in stable firewall rules. Electric cars in general, love them. My wife drives a Model 3, and I have a Rivian RS1 on pre-order. Or R1S. Almost finishing wiring full gut of my upstairs. Want to say thank you for what you do. Trying to future-proof as much as possible. Hopefully got a lot of Cat 6 in there. Can you use Gobi Bluetooth? No. Any big advantages to a tower case, small form factor? I like small form factor just because it keeps it out of the way, but there's no main disadvantage or advantage to it. Find I have to reboot my APs once a month. Looking forward to hearing Omada is more stable. I didn't have that problem with Unify, so I'm not sure that me not having that problem with Omada will help. My Unify APs were pretty stable. Does Home Assistant support two-way talk? Not that I know of. You mentioned Reolink Duo PoE earlier. Does yours drop frames desync at night? It's the same as the 5 megapixel cameras. It doesn't have the new fixed frame rate mode, so it drops the frame rate, but it doesn't drop frames. If that's what you mean. No, I don't drop frames at night. If you're using it in Blue Iris, you should be using RTMP and not RTSP on that. Having issues with my PoE yeah, you just asked that, right? Yeah, so make sure you're using Fit Like a Glove, make sure you're using RTMP. Can Ring Doorbell and Fire TV show video preview on the TV like an Apple TV can? Yes. Regarding Ubiquiti, would you recommend hardwire only or Wi-Fi going to the distant rooms? I would not recommend you hardwiring any rooms to a motel. In a motel, all the rooms should just have Wi-Fi through the captive portal. Good channel. Working security cam, network alarm. Appreciate it. Thank you. Driving fast. M14 Gamer. No, I don't think you can use a two-way talk doorbell in Home Assistant. Although I will certainly explore that with some of the new protocols in the doorbell video that I'm making. Both Omada and Unify routers suck. Yeah, I don't know. Untangle and pfSense, a lot of people are into those, but they're hard to use. Unify Wi-Fi 6 APs are super stable when compared to the previous gen. I did not experience that with my Wi-Fi 6 Lite. That was probably the worst stability access point that I had. Oh, no, sorry. The Nano is definitely the worst. The AC Nano is the one that I've had the most problems with. The ACLR was stable. My AC Pro had an uptime of like 700 days or 600 days or something like that. It just never messed up. It was awesome. From Iraq, love your videos. Hey, how are you? Really hope that security camera manufacturers create an app which can save the footage directly to a phone or PC. That would be cool. I mean, some do that. Reolink does that. No, I think Omada APs are better than Unify APs. Oh, SP, you're talking about setting up a mesh. I would hardwire all of your backhauls. I'm a full-time YouTuber, Robert. So does Blue Iris support two-way talk? I don't know. I gotta see. Oh, wait, does Blue Iris support two-way talk? Only on some cameras. Not on many. I think they have to support SIP in order for them to do it. Will you tell us again how we can rewatch this later? Yeah, you can go to playlists. So go to my channel, click on playlists, and there's a playlist called public playlist called unlisted live streams. You can also rewatch on Amazon via the link that's in the description. Yes, I did watch the Wayne Show rant last night. RTMP is set up. When will we get the perfect wide angle? My Duo actually worked really well. It's a bummer that yours isn't. There's a new Duo coming out though. A new Duo PoE like Gen 2 that doesn't have the stitch issue in the middle. Like the lenses line up perfectly, so it's a full panorama. It's pretty neat. And they upgraded the 4 megapixel sensors to 5 megapixel sensors. And so it's when it does the composite image, it's still an 8 megapixel composite image because the two sensors overlap in the middle and then it like stitches it. I actually don't know if I was allowed to tell you that. Sorry, Fraser. DigiBlur DOI says it supports Amcrest doorbell two-way talk. Sorry for asking a lot. It probably does. If Travis says it does, then it does. Thanks, Cole. Hopefully they've been good products. Oh, Mayo, I'm sorry that you just made it to a live stream because I'm just about to sign off. So, thanks you for coming out. Thanks for hanging out for a while. And like I said, if you'd like to rewatch this, if you missed whatever, the beginning of it and you want to watch the whole thing, you can go to playlists, unlisted live streams, and it'll be in there, or you can watch it on Amazon via the link in the description. All right. I will see you guys probably next week. I'll do another one of these. I like them, so I'll continue to do them. All right. Have a good Saturday night.